The envelope sat untouched on my marble desk, a crisp ivory rectangle with embossed navy lettering. The same stationery my father had used to send me a severance letter 12 years ago. This one read, "Your presence is urgently requested. Family dinner, Bennett Estate." The irony wasn't lost on me. My assistant Lena glanced up from her laptop. "Are you going?" I swirled my coffee and looked out the massive window of my corner office overlooking downtown Seattle. After 12 years of silence, they want dinner? What do you think? I used to be Camille Bennett, eldest daughter of venture capitalist Lawrence Bennett, but after he cut me off at 23 for challenging his shady investment deals, I changed my name. Now I'm Camille Reyes, CEO of NovaCore Labs, a biotech firm valued at just under $900 million, 0 cents. And next week I'll finalize the acquisition of Bennett Dynamics, my father's collapsing empire. Lena placed a thick binder on my desk. The merger documents are ready, board set for Wednesday. I tapped the edge of the invitation. "How bad is it over there?" She scrolled through her tablet. "Stocks down 70% this quarter, layoffs looming, and Eva's smart device rollout flopped. They're hemorrhaging." Eva, my golden child younger sister. The chosen one. The one Dad said had the intuition for innovation. The same sister who watched in silence as he exiled me. I stood. "Book a flight to Napa. Let's hear what they're scrambling about." 12 hours later, I was back in the land of vineyard estates and gated pretenses. The Bennett house was untouched. Same rose gardens, same stone pillars, same cold pride. I spotted my father's black Tesla and Eva's Porsche in the driveway. Lena had insisted a driver wait for me, just in case, she'd said. Smart. The door opened before I even knocked. A new butler stood in the entryway. "Miss Bennett?" he greeted. "It's Reyes now," I replied. He blinked, then nodded. "My apologies, Miss Reyes. They waiting in the library." Of course, the library, where every decision that ruined someone's future was signed in ink and sealed with a glass of scotch. This time, I had my own pen. This was the same room where my father had told me, cold and calculated, that I was no longer welcome in his house. Or in Bennett Dynamics. I straightened my tailored Max Mara blazer and followed the butler down the familiar corridor. Framed photos lined the hallway. Eva's Stanford graduation, Eva accepting a tech award, Eva at the helm of the company. Not a single photo of me remained. It was as if I had been wiped clean from the family's memory. The library door was open. Inside, my father sat behind his signature mahogany desk. He looked older, his hair now more gray than black, his posture a touch more slouched, but the air of command still clung to him. Eva sat on the edge of a leather couch, her posture rigid beneath a pristine white blazer. In the corner, my mother remained silent, just like the day she watched me walk out with nothing but a suitcase and my pride. "Camille," my father said, rising, "thank you for coming." I stayed just at the threshold. When Lawrence Bennett sends an urgent invitation, how could I possibly decline? Eva flinched. My father's jaw tightened, but he gestured to a chair. "Please, sit. We need to talk." I chose the seat nearest the door, close enough to hear, far enough to leave. He cleared his throat. "We've been following your recent success." "My success?" I tilted my head. "You mean building a biotech empire while you handed Eva the keys to a sinking ship?" My mother finally spoke. "We're trying to be civil, Camille." "Like the civil silence you gave me for 12 years?" I said, voice sharp. "Or the civil way you erased me from the family photo wall?" Eva stood abruptly. "We made mistakes, okay? We were wrong. Is that what you want to hear?" I looked at her for the first time, not the flawless face in press releases, but the woman beneath. Her expression was tight, her eyes tired. The pressure of keeping a failing company afloat was clearly catching up. "Why am I here?" I asked. My father exhaled, weariness settling over him. "Bennett Dynamics is in trouble. We need your help." There it was, not regret, not remorse, just desperation disguised as diplomacy. "My help?" I asked evenly. "We've seen what you've done at NovaCore, your vision, your execution. We need that innovation at Bennett." I thought of the signed merger agreement in my briefcase. He had no idea. I wasn't here to help. I was here to take over. If you've ever been underestimated or had to fight for your place at the table, don't forget to subscribe. Camille's story isn't over, and what happens next might just surprise you. And what exactly are you offering? I asked. Eva jumped in before our father could answer. A partnership, co-CEO, equal decision-making power. I almost laughed. They had no idea how close they were to having no say at all. Let me make sure I understand, I said, rising from my seat. For over a decade, I was the disappointment, the one who didn't get it, the one who wasn't Bennett material. And now that you're spiraling, suddenly, I'm good enough to sit at the table? That's not fair, Eva snapped. Things have changed. Changed? I turned to her. Because you failed at the job that was handed to you like a graduation gift? Because your vision didn't pan out, and now you need someone to bail you out? Enough, my father barked, his voice cracking. We're offering you a chance to come home, Camille, to be part of the family again. I reached for my briefcase. That's a generous offer, Lawrence, I said, pulling out a folder and placing it gently on the desk in front of him. But I have a counter-proposal. He opened the folder, his face drained of color. What is this? The future of Bennett Dynamics, I said calmly. NovaCore Labs has been acquiring shares through shell corporations and private deals for months. As of next week's board vote, we'll hold majority control. Eva snatched the documents from his hands, her fingers trembling. No, this can't be real. Can't what? I said softly. Can't be outmaneuvered? Can't be replaced? Can't watch everything you thought was yours get signed over? My father stood, red-faced. You planned this? No, I replied, you did. The moment you decided Eva deserved your legacy more than I did, you set this in motion. I just followed your playbook. We'll fight this, he warned. We have legal counsel. I nodded. You do. The same attorneys who helped me structure the deal. Loyalty is a two-way street, Dad. Something I learned from you. The room was silent. My mother sat frozen, her hands clenched in her lap. Eva looked like she might shatter. The board meets Tuesday, I said, rising. Take the weekend to process. Camille, please, my mother whispered. We're your family. I turned to Eva, feeling a familiar ache rise in my chest, raw and unresolved. Family? I echoed. Where was this family when Dad threw me out with nothing but a backpack? When you inherited everything that was meant to be shared? When I was scraping by to survive while you gave press interviews from the corner office? You never needed our help, Eva said, her voice barely above a whisper. Look at what you've built. I laughed, short, bitter. You think NovaCore happened by accident? You think investors were lining up to fund the disgraced Bennett daughter? I shook my head. I worked 18-hour days for years, slept on a futon in a studio apartment, ate instant noodles, pitched my ideas to anyone who would give me 5 minutes, and most of them didn't. My voice softened, but the edge never left. And do you know what kept me going? The day I could finally show you what you lost, what you dismissed. My father finally spoke, gravel in his voice. So this is about revenge. No, I said, this is business. Isn't that what you always preached, Dad? Never let emotion interfere with opportunity? I lifted my briefcase. Bennett Dynamics is collapsing. NovaCore can save it. That I get to be the one to do it? You used to call that a strategic advantage. As I turned to go, Eva reached out and caught my sleeve. Wait, what happens to us? Our jobs? Our people? I looked at her, really looked, the golden child with her perfect life crumbling around her. For a moment, I felt something close to pity. That depends, I said quietly. Are you finally ready to earn your place? Before anyone could respond, my phone buzzed. Marcus, right on cue. I need to take this, I said, stepping into the hallway. Marcus? Board calls went even better than expected, he said. Most members are already aligned. They've seen the numbers. Bennett Dynamics needs the buyout. And the press? Locked and loaded for Tuesday's release. Industry outlets are already circling. It's a clean narrative. Mismanagement, product failures, outside rescue. Perfect, I said. I turned to find my mother at the doorway. Her voice was low. You thought of everything. I had to, I replied. You taught me nothing less than perfection was acceptable. She winced. We were wrong, Camille, about so many things. Were you? I asked. She hesitated. Can we fix it? Fix what? I said softly. The business? The betrayal? Some things can't be fixed. I looked her in the eyes. But maybe they can be rebuilt, and rebuilding requires change. Back in the library, my father stood at the window, gazing out at the vineyard where he used to teach Eva and me about the Bennett legacy. How to lead, how to preserve power. How do you want to do this? He asked without turning. For the company? I said. Everything's outlined in the merger documents. He nodded slightly. And for the family? I paused. That's more complicated. Eva looked up from the pages in her lap. Her voice was small. You're not going to fire everyone, right? There are people who depend on this place. Unlike you, I've spent years building a team from nothing. I do care about people, I said. Anyone willing to adapt and who's qualified will have a place in the new NovaCore Bennett organization. But there will be changes, major ones. And us? She asked quietly. That depends on you, I replied. Are you willing to start from the bottom, learn the business properly, prove you belong in that seat? She nodded, slowly. I think I need to. Good, I said, because that's the only way forward. My father finally turned to face me. And me? He asked. You'll be offered a non-executive position on the board, I said. Advisory only. You won't have control, but your experience has value, just not at the helm. He opened his mouth, the argument already forming, but then stopped. He just nodded. It was the first time I had ever seen Lawrence Bennett accept defeat. The board meets at 10 a.m. Tuesday, I said, collecting my things. I suggest you all come prepared. I made my way to the door. My mother's voice stopped me. Camille, will you stay for dinner? I turned around, studied them all. My father, still proud, but no longer untouchable. Even no longer protected, but perhaps finally self-aware. My mother, hopeful, but still unsure how to bridge the silence she helped create. No, I said softly, not tonight. We're not there yet. But maybe, someday. The next few days passed in a blur. Presentations, final calls, strategy reviews. Marcus kept me posted. Most board members were fully behind the merger now. Then, Monday night, in my Napa hotel suite, a text lit up my phone. Eva, can we talk? Just us? I almost ignored it, but something in me paused. I typed back. Lobby bar, 30 minutes. She was already there when I arrived, a glass of Merlot in hand. Thanks for coming, she said as I sat. I raised an eyebrow. What do you want, Eva? She took a breath. I wanted to say, I'm sorry. Not just for now, but for then. For not standing up for you when Dad cast you out, Eva said, her voice barely above the jazz humming through the bar. For taking everything without question, for being exactly who they wanted me to be, instead of who I needed to become. I gave a small nod to the bartender. You're just now realizing that? No, she admitted, eyes dropping to her glass. I've known for years I was in over my head, that I wasn't cut out to lead Bennett Dynamics. I studied her face. She looked stripped bare, no press polish, no inherited confidence, just honesty. So what changed? I asked. You did, she said, watching you build NovaCore from the ground up. Seeing how people followed you not because they had to, but because they believed in you. That's real leadership. And I never had that. I searched for signs of a performance, but there was only fatigue and genuine regret. You understand we can't go back, I said carefully. I know, she nodded, and I don't want to. I just want to do it right this time, from the beginning. Will you teach me? The next morning I stood before the Bennett Dynamics board, the same wood-paneled room where I'd once been called a liability. Only now I was leading the presentation. Eva and our father sat off to the side, silent witnesses to what had changed. As I laid out NovaCore's vision for the merger, the irony wasn't lost on me. 12 years ago, I was cast out for daring to think differently. Now, I was saving the empire that had rejected me. The vote passed. Unanimous. Bennett Dynamics was now officially part of NovaCore Labs. As the boardroom cleared, my father approached. "You've won," he said, not bitter, just tired. "This was never about winning," I replied. "It's about fixing what was broken. In the business, and maybe in the family." He nodded. "I underestimated you. I was wrong." "Yes, you were," I said simply. "The real question is, what now?" He squared his shoulders, and for a flicker of a moment I saw the man I once admired. "I'm gonna watch my daughter run the company. I should have trusted her with, if she'll let me." It wasn't an apology, but it was a beginning. 6 months later, I sat in my Boston office, formerly my father's. Eva stood at the front of the room presenting a new product strategy she'd developed as a junior analyst. Confident, informed, earned. She was finally becoming the leader she was never forced to be. After the meeting, Eva lingered behind as the others filed out. "That went well, right?" "It did," I nodded. "You've come a long way in 6 months." "Thanks to you," she said quietly, "for giving me a chance I probably didn't deserve." I smiled faintly. Everyone deserves a shot to prove themselves, even spoiled little sisters who take 12 years to grow up. She laughed, genuinely this time. Not the polished laugh she used to save for investor brunches or gala dinners. This one was real. "Mom asked me to remind you about Sunday dinner," she added a little more cautiously. I'd attended 2 family dinners since the merger. They were still awkward, still filled with pauses and unspoken apologies, but they were also something else. A beginning. "Maybe," I said. "Depends on how the week goes." "You always say that," Eva teased. "But maybe there's more to life than work, Camille. Maybe sometimes Sunday dinner is just Sunday dinner." I looked at her. Really looked. The golden girl of yesterday was gone. In her place stood someone more grounded, more real. "Maybe," I said. "We'll see." Later that evening, working late in my Boston office, I opened the drawer where I kept an old photo. Me and Eva as kids. Both of us beaming, arms around each other, before legacy and expectations had torn us apart. My phone buzzed. A message from Marcus. Board report. Kiwi 3 profits up 40% post-merger. Bennett Dynamics division outperforming forecasts. I smiled. My father had found his place on the board, finally listening instead of dictating. Eva was earning every title she held. Even my mother had begun to speak more in meetings and less in whispers. And me? I'd learned something I never expected to. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't revenge at all. Sometimes it's proving exactly what they lost and then giving them a second chance to get it right. I picked up my phone and texted Eva. "Tell Mom I'll come Sunday, but I'm not staying long." Her reply was instant. "Long enough for dessert? She's baking your favorite, chocolate cake." I laughed under my breath. "Fine," I texted back, "but only because of the cake." Some would say I'd won. I had the company, the respect, the legacy. But sitting there, thinking of old photos and Sunday dinners, I realized something deeper. The greatest victory isn't just proving them wrong. It's giving them the space to grow into people who can finally make things right. Even if it takes 12 years and a corporate takeover to get there. Truly, this wasn't just a story about boardrooms and betrayal. It was about growth, resilience, and learning that healing doesn't always come with applause. If you saw yourself in any part of my journey, leave a comment below. Tell me what you had to overcome, who underestimated you, and what you've built in silence. And if my story gave you even a flicker of strength, hit that subscribe button, because there are more stories like mine, stories of quiet power, of rising anyway, and maybe, just maybe, yours